graders, did you know that you have 3 voices? You do. You have your speaking voice. Raise your hand if you can hear my speaking voice. Of course you can, right? You have your speaking voice. You have your inner voice, which is also called like your conscious. Your inner voice tells you, ooh, don't put your hand on the stove, that's hot. Or, ooh, that dog doesn't look so friendly, I'm not going to go over there. Or, oh, looks like he wants to play with me, I'm going to go talk to him. Okay, so your inner voice. You have your speaking voice, your inner voice, and then you also have your writing voice. And in 3rd grade last year, you learned about voice and how when you add voice to your writing, it puts more emotion and more personality. And you remember that's like putting your thumbprint on your paper, your uniqueness getting into your writing. So that's what we're going to learn today.
Verbally telling students the objective infuses instruction with a sense of purpose. It increases the importance of the lesson and their learning.
Okay, you know that nouns are person, places, and things. And you know that verbs are action words. So eating, chewing, playing, talking, all those action words are verbs.
Activating prior knowledge helps to increase comprehension for upcoming learning. Before students can identify weak verbs and suggest stronger verbs, they first need to know what verbs are. Depending on your student's previous experience with verbs, you may want to first do a lesson on verbs as action words. However, it is not necessary to do isolated drills on weak versus strong verbs due to the students comprehending this concept in the context of real writing during this lesson.
But there's times where kids use weak verbs, and it would really paint a better picture in your writing if you used a strong verb instead. And so that's what we're going to learn today. We're going to play a game. It's called Guess the Covered Word, okay? And you are going to be guessing the word that's in the box. I have written a story. It's called What a Day. And it's about a 4th grader who's a really fast runner. And her friend says, come on, you need to sign up for this field day race. You need to be in the race. And so she convinces her to be in this race. There are places where in the story there are boxes, black boxes. The black boxes are hiding the weak verb. So let's do this. For weak verbs, we're going to do boo-hoo. Ready, everyone, with your thumbs? Let's go boo-hoo. Those are the weak verbs. We don't want you using weak verbs in your writing. Instead, we want you using your strong verbs and go, oh, arr. Do that. Arr. Show your muscles. Right. So instead of weak verbs, you're going to be using strong verbs. So you're going to guess the weak verb that's being covered up, and then you're going to have your brain thesaurus. Let's turn our brain thesaurus on. We've talked about what a thesaurus is before. Turn it on. Yep. Your brain thesaurus is going to help us come up with some strong verbs. Right. Okay. So let's get started. What a day. Come on, you should do it. You're the fastest 4th grader I know. Blank, my best friend. Okay. What do you think is in the box? Guess the covered word. Hey, Justice? Said. It is said. And I'm going to use red. Okay. I'll put it up here, and then I'm also going to write it here. Think of all the different ways to say said. Said is the boo-hoo, the weak verb. Okay, so it's come on, you should do it. You're the fastest 4th grader I know, said my best friend. Said is okay, but we want to find out some stronger verbs, right? So what is another way to say said? And I'm going to write it in green. What's another way? Anthony? Responded. Good. Responded, my friend. Olivia? Shouted. Good. Shouted, my best friend. That would work. Okay, and we're putting it in green because we want to stop on the said. We don't want to use said, and red a lot of times means stop, and we want to use some green words here, some strong verbs. Okay, Morgan? Screamed. Screamed, my best friend. Come on, you should do it. Screamed, my best friend. Sure, that works. Tyra? Shouted. We have shouted right there.
Yelled.
Yelled, uh-huh. Okay, Christian? Blurted, my best friend? Sure, like blurted out.
There are times when it is conducive to have students shout out answers during a lesson. However, in an effort to check for understanding and hear from a variety of students, I ask students to raise their hands. The raising of hands also prevents only the higher or more verbal students to shout out the answers. You should notice more students raising their hands as the lesson goes on. This is due to an increased understanding of the teaching points.
Olivia? Inspired. That's a great one. You were going to say that? Inspired. Danny? Persuaded. Yeah, those words persuaded me to sign up. Okay, let's move on here. So we have those words persuaded me, those words encouraged me, those words inspired me. Some people say those words forced me. Those words forced me to sign up for the race.
It is important at the beginning of the year to express to your students the importance of taking a risk. This will help foster a safe and caring classroom where every student is valued. I explain to students when answering a question, it is always better to try and maybe get the answer wrong than not to try at all. If you are worried students won't want to answer for fear of getting the answer wrong, stress that wrong answers can sometimes create good teachable moments.
As I blank at the starting line. Okay, so here she is. She's not running yet, she's doing this. She's not stretching, she's doing this. As I blank at the starting line, what do you think the red word is there, the weak verb? Kayla? Well, she's already done looking at the course. She's actually just doing this. Okay, so she's just, what am I doing, Kayla? Yeah, and it's as I stood. Very good. As I stood at the starting line. Okay, now we need other words for stood. Austin? Very good. Waited works. As I waited at the starting line, I was around a lot of runners. Alex? Hesitated. Good. As I hesitated at the starting line. That kind of means the same as waiting. Todd? Was wouldn't work. As I was at the starting line. It does fit in the sentence, but we're looking for words that replace stood, some stronger verbs. Okay. Tyler? Standing and stood are the same word. Stood is past tense, and this is all past.
Due to videotaping purposes, this lesson was filmed during an hour session. Based on your students and/or your schedule, you may want to separate the guided practice of replacing the weak verbs with the students' answers into 2 consecutive days.
Okay, look at all these green words. Your brain thesaurus, wow, is right. Your brain thesaurus is really on today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, this is what, uncover the words, and I'm going to read it just with the red words. These are the weak verbs. I want you to pretend like you've never heard this story before. I want you to create a mind movie in your head. Okay, in just a minute, I'm going to have you close your eyes and you're going to picture this in your head. Okay, then I'm going to read it. Hold on a minute. Don't close your eyes yet. Then I'm going to read it with one of the green words. I may pick yours, I may not. I'm just going to choose one. And you're going to see if it sounds, if you can picture it, you can create that mind movie better in your head with the stronger verb. Okay, close your eyes.
Asking students to close their eyes and mentally picture the story in their head while I read version A with weak verbs and version B with strong verbs increases their comprehension of the objective, which is to learn that the strong verbs create a more vivid mind movie. Being able to discern the difference between the 2 versions creates a new understanding of the importance of using stronger verbs. This causes students to want to try harder to create a vibrant mind movie.
Okay, picture this in your head. Actually picture the girl and her friend and her racing. Picture all that. Come on, you should do it. You're the fastest 4th grader I know, said my best friend. Those words made me sign up for the Huron Elementary Field Day race. I looked around the mile-long course that went around our school. As I stood at the starting line, I was around a lot of runners. We all wore numbers on our shirts. Everyone was ready. The starter's pistol went off and we went down the hill of the course. When I reached the halfway point, I noticed that there were only a few other runners by me. Then I saw my best friend. She said to me, "You're gonna win this race." I began to run faster. I crossed the finish line. I won. My first place medal is one of my special treasures that I will cherish forever. Okay, open your eyes. Okay, so you were creating a mind movie in your head using the weak verbs. Now, this time, I'm going to put this back on. This time, when you close your eyes, see if you can picture it even better, because these stronger verbs describe it more. They add more voice into the writing. They add more description into the writing. They allow you to picture it better. Okay, close your eyes. "Come on, you should do it. You're the fastest fourth grader I know," screamed my best friend. Those words inspired me to sign up for the Huron Elementary Field Day race. I gazed around the mile-long course that surrounded our school. As I waited at the starting line, I was around a lot of runners. We all wore numbers on our shirts. Everyone was ready. The starter's pistol blasted off, and we zoomed down the hill of the course. When I reached the halfway point, I noticed that there were only a few other runners by me. Then I glanced at my best friend. She said to me, "You're going to win this race." I began to hustle faster. I crossed the finish line. I won. My first place medal is one of my special treasures that I will cherish forever. Okay, open your eyes. Thumbs up if you could picture the stronger verbs better. If you could picture the story better with the stronger verbs. Okay, I would think that everyone's thumbs would be up, because the stronger verbs allow you to be able to picture it. They're adding more voice into the writing. The same story that we just went over, but now you're going to be filling in the blanks. You're going to be using your brain thesaurus. Do you see where there's a blank and then the words underneath? This is the weak verb. You can't use the weak verb up here. That's why it's underneath. You have to replace the weak verb with a strong verb. We went over the answers here, so there's lots of words here, but then I'm also going to go over the answer key. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to leave the answer key up on the overhead for you, because that would be, you would just be picking a word and copying it and writing it down, and that's too easy. I want you to use your brains more. So what I'll do, though, right now, is so you can get even more ideas of the words, hold on, Sarah, is I'm going to go over the answer key right now with you, and then you can maybe pick a word that is on here, pick a word that we went over in class. Some of the words that you wrote, that I wrote down, the green words, are on here. So where she said my best friend, agreed my best friend, answered my best friend, begged, could begged work? That's a good one. Begged my best friend. Bellowed my best friend. Bellowed is like shouting. Bossed my best friend.
I show the answer key that is fashioned like a thesaurus right before the students start on their guided practice of writing in strong verbs on their What a Day student sheet. The answer key has been created to increase their answer choices when they choose strong verbs. However, I do not give the students their own copy of the answer key. Just copying a word from a list doesn't produce higher level thinking. It is important to mention that not every possible answer is included on the answer sheet.
Shoot faster, sprint faster, travel faster, trot. Would trot work, everyone? No, that's like a jog. That's too slow. All right, so what you're going to do is you are going to fill in the blank with a stronger verb. When you get done filling in your stronger verbs, you have to read it at least 3 times to make sure that the words you put in here fit. Okay, and then we'll go over the answers.
The students now work on replacing the weak verbs with strong verbs. I feel they still need assistance, and therefore I move around the room to provide help to students who need it. This is why I'm calling this guided practice and not independent practice. It is important to do this guided practice right after you have gone over the answer key and finished replacing the weak verbs as a class.
Words made me. So what's another way to say made? Those words convinced me. Okay, so her friend saying, come on, you should do it, yelled her best friend. And those words made her sign up for the race. So those words, what's another way to say made? Those words. You want me to help you? Give you some choices? Okay, convinced, force me, convince.
I was about to force, those would force me.
To sign up for the race? Yeah, you could do that, or inspired me. And we went down the hill of the course. Oh, that one's, remember that?
Anything like this.
Okay, I looked around the mile-long course. Okay, what's another way to say looked? I looked around the mile-long course. I looked.
Peek.
I peeked. Sure, that's a great one. Just try your best on the spelling.
Since the process of filling out their own What a Day student sheet requires concentration, I don't want students to interrupt this process by stopping to look up a word in the dictionary. This is the same methodology I have for when the students are writing. I stress that we would rather see bigger words spelled wrong than only using small words they know how to spell. The students know to try their best on the spelling, and they can always go back and fix up their spelling when they are done with their writing.
Called what's that on the bulletin board? It's a border. That one would work, that bordered around our school. Okay, did you get this one then?
There are several options that can be implemented for when students finish their guided practice. You can choose whatever way works best for you and your students. Here are just a few of the possible choices. 1. Turn in student sheet, teacher corrects and hands back. 2. Students exchange papers with peer and go over the answers together. 3. Go over the various answers in class. Students redo wrong answers. Over the next 2 to 3 weeks, students will continue their learning of strong verbs with 3 style activities. These practices are to strengthen strong verb learning, increase writing with strong verbs, and to practice format. The independent style activities they do are the following. Number 1, 10 revising and editing multiple choice questions. 2, peer response to the student writing sample. 3, writing from knowledge and experience. These are all included in the binder under Lesson 1.
What I wrote about is my special object. I can't wait until school is over, said Mike. Slow down, said Trina. You have 8 months until school is over. I'm not talking about the school year. I'm talking about the day. Oh, said Trina silently. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ring, ring, ring. It's out. School is finally out. Now I can go home and practice my football so I can win that trophy. So I zoomed home. When I got there, I saw that my dad was already there. We started throwing, tackling, catching, and making up plays to win that football game. Then we raced inside to get a bite to eat. Although we were tired, we watched a huge game. When the game was over, we cleaned up and immediately went to bed. When we woke up, I only had 15 minutes to get ready because it was 10 o'clock and my game was at 10:30.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm going to tell you about which student writing sample is better. Version B is better than version A because of detailed voice and strong verbs. Version A is just boring in all ways. Talking, acting, telling, and even the weak verbs are weak. The version B is better in lots of ways. I'll give you some examples. In version A, in the sentence said my best friend, said is the weak verb. But in version A, they said begged is version B, the sentence those words made me sign up. But in version B, in that sentence, they said convinced me to sign up. Now in version A, in the sentence the starter's pistol went off. But in version B, that sentence was better by saying the starter's pistol shot off. Now you can see my details, examples, and reasons, and that's why I like version B.